Come on and tune into that old world charm. It's sweet delight. Yeah, that old world charm. They can spin some yarns to hold tonight.
G'day everyone and welcome to episode 40. That's 40. Who would have thought we would be real boys and make a real podcast? My name is Adam Camilleri. Welcome to that old world charm. I'm joined by the full triumvirate of the charmed ones. First and foremost, the man meet mountain himself, Danny McDevitt. Hello, sir.
Hi, Adam.
I'm gonna keep adding adjectives and or nouns. I don't know what those.
I know you would.
I don't know what those words actually mean. You know, I didn't do school enough to learn what a noun and an adjective actually did, and they still let me have a podcast. The fools.
The standards in Australia for education apparently very low, and this is coming from someone from the United States. So I feel like I have a leg to stand on.
The standards for progressing through the Australian education system are very high. Therefore, I did not. So there we are. And Peter, the Falcon himself. Hello, sir.
Hello, my babies. We're back. We did it.
From a triumvirate and triumphant series of events at Adepticon. All three of us were in attendance. These two gentlemen played in a bunch of stuff. I had to stream 40K for 14 hours a day for 3 days in a row, and I almost died. And then every moment that I was free, I was walking over and poking these guys and ribbing them and telling them to not lose, not be fools. And you better go first. Oh boy, don't choke. And suffice to say, they all choked at some point. But good times were had by all. And this is going to be our Adepticon review episode, including over in part 2, we're going to review the reveals. So come over and join us at that old world charm over on Patreon to get our insights into especially Cathay. Oh my Lord.
Ooh.
My goodness. I
mean, none of us are surprised because we all know this thing's been done for like 2 years. As far as rumors that were strongly suggested to not be rumors in my direction were spoken. Cathay's been done for like 2 years and possibly another one, which I cannot allude to, but I've been expecting this for a long time.
Yeah, it always sucks when you and I and Danny know information and we can't talk about it because we've signed stupid pieces of paper. Makes me so sad.
It's the worst. Simply the worst.
I wish it was back in the olden days when I didn't have paper. I could just wildly yell things and have people believe or not believe me.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
Oh, yeah. Just hot takes, nothing but hot takes.
Yeah.
Because essentially all our hot takes have to be like lukewarm at best.
Right.
For knowledge.
It's true. We've been paid off by big G-dubs.
We're just chilling, baby. Oh, puppy, big top, don't come down on me. But we're going to talk about the doubles event you both played in and then the singles event you guys both played in as well. And the inter-podcast competition between us and Squarebase is currently sitting at 1-1, but we know that our boy carried their boy a lot more. So there's my little shade. Check.
Not a question.
Yeah, not even close. Avowed even by Rob Symes himself when I threw that shade his way. He said, "Don't tell Val this," but he gave me a right nod.
I love it.
All right, the doubles boys. Danny, tell us about this event. What did you take? What was your team?
Okay, so I teamed up with our venerable producer / editor Dickie, wherein our team name was Old World Farm. And we took Beastmen and Wood Elves. So he took the combat, I took the shooting and a little combat, and we made it work. We made a beautiful, beautiful skirmishy baby boy, and did decently, I'll say.
So it's 1,000 points each, yeah?
1250.
1250. And what were the standard 4-sog restrictions? Like 25%, 50%.
Yeah, it was like for 1,000 point list, right?
Yeah.
Not a 2K list or grand, I took a bunch of Deepwood Scouts. I took like 30. A unit of 5 regular archers, big unit of wild riders, a lord on a stag. And then Dickie took a bunch of Razor Gores, a bunch of Dragon Ogres, and a dude on a chariot who was a wizard who was very scary. People were very scared of him.
Sick.
rightfully so.
And what was your run like? What did you end up playing against? And what in your armies did well, did bad?
We played against. We played first against vampire counts and orcs and goblins. And we did pretty good. I killed the Mortis engine with shooting on like turn 5. Just a lot of poison arrows are pretty good at that. And then Dickie's Beastmen just smashed the vampire counts, and we kind of played chicken with orcs and managed to take the W there. But the thing is I don't know if maybe we were scoring our points wrong or something, but we weren't scoring very many points, even though we were winning all of our games, or we're winning games, right? So then we played against Oops All Humans, which was Empire and Bretonia. And we managed to cinch that pretty well. We had a pretty good turn where my Lord on a Stag took a charge from Pegasus Knights. And because there was a building right there, he could only base 2 Pegasus Knights with my general, totally intended. And and yeah, he makes them hit on 5s, or if it's in a challenge, he'll make the champion hit on a 6. So he just like took it like a champ. And then eventually Dickie's Chaos Spine Beast kind of run. Oh yeah, we had a Greater Spawn and Nurgle. That thing was unbelievably good. That thing rolled around the corner and smashed into them, and then we smashed the rest of that army. And then, of note there, I had a couple of really clutch poison rolls where I was able to kill war machines with 1 volley of shooting from a unit. 5 Glade Guard killed a cannon just because I rolled 3 6s. So that was cool. Then our last game, God, what did we end up playing against? I don't even remember. It was lost in the haze, but man, we really smashed that game. I think we won that one like 20-0 or whatever, like the maximum amount that we could win by.
Now, it's an interesting thing because from what I hear, there was a pretty dramatic juxtaposition between the power level of the doubles armies and the singles armies that you guys ended up playing against. Like even just walking around, I could tell people were just kind of having fun, putting a hodgepodge of different stuff together in the doubles. And then when I was walking around in the singles, I was like, that's nearly top tier. That's busted. That's top tier. Right. Oh boy, that's a Death Star. And that's Death Star. Oh, look over there. Death Star. I'm going to be interested. That's definitely going to be a topic I'm going to ask you guys about afterwards. But where'd you guys end up coming up in the overall event, Danny?
They never released placings, but we were undefeated. So I assume that we're in like the top, I don't know, like 5 or 6, I guess, probably.
How many teams?
34. Is that right, Peter?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So yeah, somewhere in there, but we had low scoring wins. What was that?
They had mentioned, I think they said there was 37, but I only counted 34 when I was walking the tables. I could have been wrong. There was 34 teams looking at just the pairings results.
Wait, so they could have only been, well, it's because it's 3 games, right? So 34 goes down to
17.
17 down.
Yeah, so we could have been, I guess, like anywhere in the not first place, but anywhere in like 2.
You probably, if you were undefeated, you were probably in the top 5 because there would have been 4 to 5 undefeated teams.
Yeah, sure. Nice. Okay. Well, dude, any feedback on your list or anything that did really well or over or underperformed?
I'll be honest, the Beastmen were really cool to see on the table. It would be fun to kind of play something that's a little bit less passive, which is kind of what I've been playing with like Dark Elves and Sea Guard and Wood Elves. And so maybe taking something that was a little bit more offensive, I think would be maybe fun. So I'm kind of looking at maybe starting a Beastman army.
Nice.
I think that would be pretty cool, but I'm going to wait until I see the Arcane Journal for sure. But man, Razor Gores are really good.
Oh, Razor Gores are amazing. Yeah, Razor Gores are fantastic. Petey Baby, who's this unknown gentleman who you decided to tango with and have on your team?
Yeah, so coming into like the main reason why I went to Adepticon was because our good friend Val Hefflefinger over at the Square Based Podcast messaged me a couple of months ago and said, I really need a partner for a doubles event. And you don't do events anymore, so you should come. And that started us on a journey that led us to Milwaukee, of all places. Not a land that I ever wanted to go to, but I was happy I got there.
Hey, Milwaukee actually grew on me a lot. I was.
yeah.
dude. Well,
Yeah.
like when I say that, what I mean is like leading up to the event, the whole time I was like, I don't want any cheese, and I'm not a Green Bay Packers fan, so I really see no reason why I want to go to this shithole. And then we drove into Milwaukee, and the whole time, all of us in the car were like, this place
This
is
is nice.
really nice. Like,
Yeah, this place is
this
lovely.
is beautiful. Like all this architecture and all these sausages. Like it was just
So many sausages.
a great place to be. And like just walking the streets at night was cool. The weather was wild though. Like you guys in Milwaukee got to get your stuff together because like day one was what 16, 17 degrees Celsius, like 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the next day it was snowing. And I was like, this is not what I want.
And then we had a really like balmy half day out of nowhere where it was legitimately, up at high teens Celsius, probably in
high teens Celsius, followed by a thunderstorm and freezing rain at night. And I was like, please. Anyway, so Val and I went. I scared the crap out of him the Wednesday before. I flew into Toronto to meet him. And when I landed, I was helping him paint and base his army. Mine was mostly done as it was. And I told him in no uncertain terms that I've never lost a doubles game or a doubles tournament when it came to Warhammer Fantasy Battle or the Old World.
Remember what I said about being like someone got carried here?
Yeah, and I said, so we were going to win this event, and he got really nervous and kept bringing it up for the rest of the next few days.
Did you place expectation in the mind of Val Hefflefinger?
I just told him that no matter how bad he was, we were going to win. And I was I definitely pulled my Babe Ruth and I pointed at the fences. I also knew because he wouldn't let me take a weak list. Like we were going to be the most try-hard people there. Because I didn't want to run a Chaos Dragon, and he was adamant that I run a Chaos Dragon. So, and I
gotta say,
definitely smashed.
Dick move, total dick move. It turns out
there were a handful of teams that had like really sweaty lists, and the key to winning Adepticon doubles is don't play against them.
Turns out,
dodge. Yeah. If you just dodge those teams and you'll win.
So what were your lists? So it was what VC, if so Vampire Counts and Warriors of Chaos?
Vampire Counts and Warriors of Chaos. So I brought
honestly sounds like one of the best possible combos you could make of
it was. We chatted a lot in the lead up about like how we would perform, and so my list was a Chaos Lord on a dragon with an Ogre Blade, a single Favor of the Gods, and a Brazen Collar for magic resist. I had a unit of 7 Forsaken of Slaanesh and a unit of 8 Forsaken of Slaanesh, a unit of 5 Warhounds, and then I believe it was either 3 Dragon Ogres and 1 Shartak or 4 and 1 Shartak. And that was kind of my list. And Val brought a Mortis Engine with a decked out level 4 Necromancer, a large block of Graveguard, and 2 like 20-man-ish units of zombies, as well as a Banshee. Like that band, the whole, all 3 of our games were basically carried by that single Banshee and my dragon. Like that was it. That 90 or 85 whatever point Banshee probably killed 3,000 points in models over the course of the event.
Wow.
It was wild. And my dragon did what my dragon does. He just bullied everybody and really made a lot of newer players sad. Our opening game 1 was against a team called Pointy Ears, Pointy Horns. It was a guy named Chris playing Beastman. He had like a little Death Star brick of I believe it was just Gores with a Doom Bull with -2 to be hit, and 2 Gorgons, which were a little scary to me because sometimes they're just going to roll hot and possibly nuke a dragon. And his partner, very new to the game, a guy named Steve, was playing Dark Elves. He just had like a bunch of repeater crossbows, of different varieties, and a War Hydra, which I felt super bad for because that War Hydra sucked. And it was like, it wasn't Steve's fault, it was his dice's fault, but like that War Hydra hit 2 Forsaken that were left in a single unit, and the Forsaken won.
no.
Forsaken won. What?
Forsaken, not just one once, like multiple rounds. These two Forsaken just kept beating up this poor War Hydra.
Well, I'm happy Val was there to see that so that he can readjust the War Hydra, next balance pass.
Well, I will say Val was way too busy because this was our first game and he was nervous as all get out. But I will tell you, like, once everything was deployed, he just kind of looked at me and he's like, I think you can take out both of their lists. And I was like, I don't know if that's true. But what we ended up doing, Val's Banshee, we realized that they had no magical attacks in the whole list.
Oh, wow.
So Val's Banshee just got to do whatever it wanted. I think there was like a single Minotaur that had a magic item on it or something that we had to be worried about. But the Banshee nuked both Gorgons with screams, and also took out most of the Minotaur unit. My dragon managed to eat up all the Gors, and the Doom Bull ran off the board. And then the rest of my army kind of collapsed on the remaining Dark Elves, and that was the game. It was over quick, but these guys were awesome. This was Steve's first tournament.
Fantastic.
Chris has obviously played quite a bit. He knew his rules, but he was definitely just there for his friend. And like we had an awesome time just chatting and going over things. Poor Steve's sorceress failed a leadership test early in the game and just fled for the rest of the game. Which was really sad, but like he was having a good time, so I was quite happy with that.
That's good.
Round 2, we played against. So we 20 quote unquote 20-0'd those guys. I think the lowest they could get was a 5 or something like that. So we ended up with a score of 20-5. Our next game, we played against Men of Sigmar, need not for wizards, only for that of gunpowder and sharp steel.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Yeah, exactly. These guys had this was the team that won Best Painted at the event, and they also got nominated for like Best Overall for all of Adepticon.
Wow!
I don't believe they won, but they were one of the
hell yeah
nominees. And their army was just gorgeous. It was a combination of Empire Grand Army and Empire and a Nuln army of Nuln lists. They chose not to take any wizards. It was just pure gas. It was all shooting all the time and a big brick of knights, basically, with a general on Griffin kind of back supporting everything. And this game started off real rough. Their Hellblaster went off hard, took out all but one of my Dragon Ogres in one volley, and then took out like a whole unit of Forsaken, brought them down to 2 models, I believe, from 8, with a second volley. So it didn't look good at first for us. We were losing models, but we weren't losing units.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And we made the mistake of choosing Van Hells for Val's army instead of Hellish Vigor. And they had so many Outriders and Road Wardens that they were kind of able to just stay away from Val. So this became like a 2-on-1 for the majority of the game, where it was my army against both of theirs, and Val's Banshee kind of just giving me support. Luckily, that Banshee went insane. It killed the entire block of knights. I think it was like 8 Order of the White Wolf Knights. It may have just been plain, but she killed all of them with screams. She then killed 3 Demigryphs. This happened at the end of the game, where the unit of 3 Demigryphs hit Val's flank when he finally got his models into position on one of the objectives. And then Val went for a scream. The other team had already at this point kind of given up because we'd had a really solid couple of turns. The guy made a joke how he was going to dub ones the screen. He rolled 12, and he'd had his leadership reduced by 6 or 7 because of all the stacking buffs we had. So all of the Demigryphs just died to that scream. He also killed, I think, 8 of 10 Outriders with a scream at one point. So like that Banshee carried us. I just tried to stay alive long enough for that to happen, and then my dragon kind of just ran from one side of their line to the other. These guys were hilarious. They were really fun guys to play against. They even said like next time they're only going to bring wizards is their plan. Like this, they mentioned like this for them. One of them, it was his first event since 5th edition Old World or Warhammer Fantasy Battle.
Love to hear that.
Yeah, and the other guy was playing mainly for Best Painted. So and like they were gorgeous. Cool. But he definitely knew what he was doing. It was just like they went for kind of a fluffy alpha strike list, and the alpha, when it only went off partway, it ended up bad for them. So that was another like 20-6 game for us. And then we went into our finals match at the top table for all the marbles against an army called the Pointies.
I remember my third game.
Yeah, so this was BJ Whidden and Bart. I can't remember his last name. Plummer or Plocker or Plotcher. And they were doing Bretonia and High Elves. And this was a nail biter of a game until it wasn't. There was probably.
Did they have a dragon?
They did, but they went with a moon dragon rather than a star dragon.
Yep.
So they'd have more points for other stuff. So they were running, the High Elf side was like a big block of Lothern Sea Guard, a unit of, and another big block of Swordmasters with a level 4 inside it, with high magic, and then a moon dragon. And the Bretonia side had the Murder Duke, the monster killer Duke, and a small unit of Pegasus Knights, a decent sized brick of Knights of the Realm, and then a decent sized brick of Questing Knights. Mm-hmm. And a large block of Men at Arms. And this match started off, I looked at the lists, and because of deployment, I knew my dragon was pretty safe. So I kind of just shoved him up into the middle of the board because the monster slaying Duke was way off to the side, and I knew he wouldn't be able to get to me right away, just to see what would happen. And Bart went on and charged me with his Knights of the Realm, made all but one of his 11 5-up ward saves in the fight, and almost caused my dragon to flee off the board. It was very close. I managed to just nail the Fabigo and flee back into my lines, and he followed up. At which point he was surrounded, and I charged him with literally my entire army minus my Dragon Ogres, and somehow only barely killed that unit. The guy's ward saves were so hot. On the other side, Val just was like holding the line. He pushed up and basically held off the rest of the High Elves for me to kind of do my thing. The Pegasus Knights hit my unit of Forsaken. One of my units of Forsaken killed them, ran into another unit of Forsaken, and that unit of Forsaken decided that they were only going to make ward saves for the rest of the game to counteract the Knights of the Realm. And then I just kept rolling Killing Blow and never rolling a 6. Until
that has been your tail versus me the entire time. This is just for your Forsaken. Your Forsaken just don't have any. They either only roll Killing Blow and never roll a 6, or they never roll Killing Blow when they need it.
Yeah. And so I think I only got 2 Killing Blows off the whole game, even though I kept rolling it. But still, those Forsaken, they slowly got whittled down, but they did eventually kill those Pegasus Knights. And then the game kind of slowly turned because of that. It was still like, I would say up until round 4, Val was getting really concerned. Most of his zombies had been killed off by Swordmasters. There was one really funny point where Val pushed his Banshee in front of the Swordmasters, and we told him they had magical attacks, and he's like, it doesn't matter. They're all dead anyway. Because he'd had so much luck all tournament with the Banshee, he just assumed she was going to kill them all with one scream. And I had to stop him, and I had to be like, Val, there are 20 Swordmasters in that unit. Even if he spikes a 12, you're gonna kill like 6, and then he's gonna fuck you up so bad, which made him at least change his plans slightly. But yeah, it was a really great game, and that kind of gave us the win. We won that game 16-6. So we got all but 4 of the possible points we could get in the tournament, and pulled off the win. I believe second place was a pure Bretonia setup, and third place was Bretonia and Wood Elves. So it was a lot of Bretonia at the top of the charts.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well done on the win. Well done on carrying the dead weight that is Val Hefflefinger. No, good. I've been talking about Shady's way, but I love Val. I just I'm jealous. I'm just deeply jealous I didn't get to play in this event. Okay, so anything in your mind, Peter, that obviously the Banshee overperformed the shit out of everything. But is there anything else in your combined list that you thought was good, bad, or otherwise?
I think almost everything in the list did exactly what we thought it would do. I don't know if I would change very much at all. I would probably change my play a couple of times more than anything. I was a little too aggressive with the Forsaken and kind of just hoped for ward saves more than once. And it just so happened that it worked. But it definitely could have cost us. But yeah, like the Dragon's an amazing bully, though that unit of Graveguard with the 2 units of zombies getting rezzed, multiple times a turn. It's just a lot for people to deal with, and it's just a really good combo. And especially by the end of the rounds, like Val was really working on all cylinders. Which was great because like our command phase was basically I rolled Gaze of the Gods once and then waited 20 minutes while Val did all of his other stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, moving into the singles, we'll start with you again, Danny. You were playing what else?
I did. I played Wood Elves for this. I had a Lord on a Dragon with Annoyance of Netlings, Befuddlement of Mischiefs, an Ogre Blade, and a Talisman of Protection. I had a level 4.
Those first like 3 random ass words that you said, what do they actually do?
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, no problem. So those are 2 different spites that I have on him. Annoyance of Netlings is -1 to hit in challenges.
Nice.
And then Befuddlement of, which is great, right? I mean, he wants to be in a challenge with his weapon. And then the Befuddlement of Mischiefs is you get to pick a unit at the start of the fight phase, and they are -1 in base to base, and they are -1 weapon skill and initiative. So essentially, like the key component of this, right, is the rider on the dragon is weapon skill 7. So if you have weapon skill 4 naturally or below, you're going to hit my dragon on 5s. Which makes him really good at taking out like other Death Stars. And if you put me in a challenge, more than likely you're going to be at best hitting me on 5s. Or if you're just like a regular unit champion, you're probably hitting me on 6s. So a really great, not only an anvil, but also a hammer kind of a unit with 4 always strikes first Ogre Blade attacks is pretty good too.
Hot. Yeah, he's really good. He's
cool. And then I had a level 4 with the it's the like the Deepwood Stave, so it's +3 inches of dispel range, and then if you're within 3 inches of a woods, as long as you're within 3 inches of a woods, you get +3 inches dispel range and roll 3 dice and drop the lowest for dispels.
Ooh, damn! Dude, I totally forgot they had that. That's freaking amazing.
It's an awesome item,
really
right?
Good. Really good.
And then also the Spell Eater Axe. And then that character joined a unit of 8 Glade Riders with reserve move and poison arrows. And then I had 2 units of 9 and 1 unit of 10 Deepwood Scouts with poison arrows. 2 units of 5 Glade Guard with poison arrows. And I had a unit of 5 and a unit of 6 Wild Riders. I actually forgot one of my deer. I was originally going to run 12, 2 units of 6, but yeah, I just found him just now sitting on my desk. So that was pretty cool. So I had to change my list, like kind of midstream there, and then 2 eagles.
Dude, cool list. Like that's I mean, that's from what you said to me there and me watching you play, it seems almost as good as it gets for what else, unless you know like a specific meta you're tooling into. Like, I mean, I saw the meta you were going into after, obviously, and I was like, ooh, don't know how Danny's going to do here. Oh boy. But on face value, when you don't know what you're up against, you're like, that's just a good, well-rounded Wood Elf list.
Yeah, totally. I wish that I would have probably spent more time practicing, or practicing at all, which I didn't. So I think that was a major downfall for me, just because I feel like I played a lot of Dark Elves, so I feel like I could have muscle memory that pretty well. But I haven't played a ton of Wood Elf games, and I wish I would have just spent a little bit more time on that, because I think the combos there are really good. Like,
so where do you feel like the wheels came off? Like, what in hindsight, like mechanically, what were you missing?
Yeah. So like I just think with that kind of army, the things I felt like I was missing a little bit more. I wish I would have taken, instead of elementalism on my wizard, I feel like I wish I would have just taken battle magic. I think that would have been better. I would have really liked Pillar of Fire. And I would have really liked Fireball. So I wish I had just like a little bit more shooting on the Glade Riders, instead of sometimes getting Plague of Rust, which I only got 1 out of the 3 games that I played, which we'll get to.
Okay. Oof.
So yeah, that's just luck of the dice. I can't fight that. I wish I could have been a mitigating thing, but like tree singing is so good for them that I felt really dumb not taking that. But like the ability of having of being able to put out a vortex in the shooting phase and then reserve move away from that vortex, incredibly powerful. So that like I actually got a bunch of extra range, so people were would have had a hard time dispelling those.
Yes, I see what you mean. Yeah.
So like I had some play that I didn't capitalize on there, I feel like, as much as I could have. Anyway, so round 1, I played against Hernan Rodriguez. He was playing Warriors of Chaos. He had 2 Nurgle Spawn, Greater Nurgle Spawn, a unit of like 14 Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch with hand weapon shield that were joined by a level 4 and a level 2. With like all the stuff that you would want, Infernal Puppet, all that stuff. And then a unit of 4 Dragon Ogres, another Dragon Ogre Shartak with the Blackened Plate, and a couple units of Forsaken. So like pretty close, like sort of like Pete's list a little bit, like in a lot of ways, but with kind of a different emphasis on like what the Death Star is like. Whereas Pete has like the dragon, this guy has this casting block. So how this game went, kind of in a nutshell, I felt like I was able to effectively deal with the 2 Chaos Spawn on one flank, as well as a unit of Forsaken, because I kind of hemmed them in with the woods I was able to put down on the table. But I wasn't able to effectively utilize my dragon, and he never made it. He made it into combat on turn 5.
Yeah. Okay.
I was trying to trap his block with my dragon, but I could never successfully dispel Steed of Shadows or Arcane Urgency. And so he was able to move that block 12 inches every time, like through, over, around my stuff, and I wasn't able to kind of pin it down. He also had an Aspiring Champion BSB on a Chariot, which was a great unit. That's just a good unit. So I basically wasn't able to kind of lock down that block and fight it with my dragon, which is what I wanted, which is unfortunate. But not a lot I can do there if I just cannot dispel. If I can't just dispel those conveyance spells. So that's the way that goes.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's how that game went. And he blasted my army with magic missiles, which my army hates, really hates. So I lost that one. I think I lost that one like 16 or 17-6 or 15 or 16-6, something like that. It was a pretty significant loss. He beat my ass.
Dang.
Yeah, no, hey, it's fine. I don't look, it's fine to lose. And like that was fine. My next game I played against an ogre player.
And bless his cotton socks, he's probably listening, the lad.
Absolute he was such a nice guy and a listener too, which is awesome. and he had a list that I played against a lot of times, like or similar like list. It's kind of like Adam's Gutstar list with a little bit different magic items.
Yeah, it's almost like you knew exactly what to do or something like that.
And like with the way that list is and the way that my list is, I'm like, okay, I don't have to play like subtly. I'm just going to try and get a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
And so I flew the dragon up and just charged the Gutstar like right off on turn 2. And the dragon beat the Gutstar over 2 turns of combat, and it ran off the table.
Freaking infuriating.
Yeah.
On behalf of all ogre players everywhere. Yep. Because you can't hit you. You cannot hit your the weapon skill of the army can just not interact with that dragon.
It's pretty toxic for that matchup. And then after the dragon killed them, I restrained after they ran off the table and turned to face his general on the Thunder Tusk. And I just charged that and killed it in 1 turn. Yeah.
What can we do against such reckless bullshit?
Nothing. Literally nothing. And then the Mournfangs that he had, I charged them with Wild Riders, and the Wild Riders are just much better than Mournfangs, so they kill them too.
Really? Shocking. Just
yeah.
Sorry, my gasp. No, it's totally fine. I'm pretty aware where ogres are at.
Yeah. So that game was like 20-5.
Whew. Well, you couldn't have done it to a nicer bloke. Thank you so much.
God, he was so cool.
Thank you so much
for cool chasing
off.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you so much for pissing off one of our several, maybe handful of listeners.
Oh, I hope not. He's a wonderful man, and I was super glad that I got to like catch up with him for the rest of the event and see how he was doing. And it looked like on his last game he had a really fun like ogre off.
Ooh, nice.
Between another ogre player. So that seemed pretty
well. At least someone gets impact hits in those games.
Yeah, right. That's true. And then my last game, I played against a gentleman named Cole, super nice guy playing Bretonians. And this game was a lot closer. I just, for the life of me, could not catch his general on Pegasus. And I think if I were able to do that, I think I would have won that game. But he just kind of like Hernan was able to neutralize the dragon between the Falcon horn. Which, God, I fucking hate that item.
It needs to go. Like, it's legitimate needs to go.
Just something needs to happen with it. It sucks to have your 500 point model neutered by a 30 point magic item like very easily. He had like a big unit of pegs, little unit of pegs, Lord on a Pegasus with Knightly Temper and the Ogre Blade, and then 2 big units of Knights of the Realm, and a level 4 on a Unicorn, a couple of Archer blocks, and a unit of Mounted Yeoman.
Good list.
Yeah, no, it was a very good list. I managed to kill one of the big night blocks. They actually fled from a charge from my Glade Riders kind of close to the end of the game. And I was trying to get my Glade Riders away from his Peg Knights and his Peg Lord, which I was able to do. But then they got shot to death from little archers. So that was something that happened. And then, my dragon didn't do anything. I actually didn't get him in combat even one time.
Wow.
Between illusion magic and
the horn.
Between illusion magic and the column, like the miasma in the column, and then also just not being able to fly anywhere, and him having some very good overruns. Like I had set him up to where I was going to be able to charge a big unit of pegs with my Wild Riders. Which would have been awesome. I would have loved that. Because my Wild Riders win that fight 9 times out of 10. And he just overran past it. Which was
I saw that. That was the one I saw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh boy, you're gonna gobble him up and you're gonna flip the game here. And then you came back and like they overran like off into the distance. Like
I think he got like 16 inches on that overrun. That's the way it goes sometimes. So so that game was like 11-15.
So relatively close.
It was, it wasn't like far off. I got a bunch of secondary objectives. Again, every single person that I played was really nice. But by the end of the first day, me going 1 and 2, and the prospect looming over my head of having to play meeting engagement, and also having played the first scenario, which was hidden deployment, which, let me tell you about a rule that really sucks when you're an army that very much depends on good deployment, like Wood Elves or any shooting army, really.
Yeah.
What a I don't know. That's not really a good tournament scenario in my mind, but hey, that's my opinion.
I love it. Maybe not a good one to open with, but I'm all for it. I am totally all for it. But you can't just have it be like blind deployment and then just kill points. You need to like wrap a mission structure around that being the gimmick, the mechanic. Which
Sure.
I'm not sure they did. They did have secondary missions. They did have other ways to gain points, which I'm going to get your opinions on at the end. Like, how do you feel about mission structure? But yeah, fair enough, man. And you already played the 3 days of the game before, so you played 6 games in 2 days. It's fair enough.
Yeah, and like I don't get to go on vacation very much, so it was a good day to hang out with Dickie and and Rob from the Honest Wargamer, and also just check in with Pete and Val to see how they were doing. I had a really fun time just hanging out and being adjacent to the event. So
beautiful. Well, Petey, baby, it's your time. It's your turn.
Yes, it is. The Adepticon singles event was definitely an event. I will say day one, I really enjoyed myself, other than like some small little things.
It's because he was winning people.
Yeah, I brought Warriors of Chaos because I'm traveling so far. I'm not going to bring 2 different armies. So my list was basically an extension of my doubles. I still had my Lord on Dragon, except I got to add a couple more Favors of the Gods on him just to make sure I wasn't stupid for entire games. My Sorcerer Lord that I got to bring had Infernal Puppet, Battle Magic. He was on a Demonic Mount, and he had a couple favors himself. And then I had a unit of 7 Marauder Horsemen with Javelins and Flails. Normally I wouldn't take Javelins, but my Marauder Horsemen are modeled with Javelins, and Adepticon is WYSIWYG, so I just wanted to make sure there'd be no complaints either way if someone saw that and got confused. I had 2 units of 8 Forsaken of Slaanesh, a gigantic spawn of Nurgle, a unit of 4 Dragon Ogres with great weapons, and then a single Shartak with blackened plate and a great weapon, and 2 units of 5 Warhounds with Vanguard. That's the list. I know it's a very solid list. I practiced with it quite a bit leading up to the event. Adam and I probably played 8 or 9 games, if not more. And I did get a couple more in with some other people just so that I wasn't only playing into Tomb Kings and Ogres. A lot of my practice was mostly about movement and just seeing physically what the units were capable of, so that I didn't overcommit in certain scenarios. My game one, like, we know the blind deployment wasn't in the mission pack, so when we saw it the day before during the doubles, we were a little, I don't know, I was like, I hate when they take away a skill element out of the game. I do understand that for some the blind deployment is a skill element. I agree to disagree. I can see like some benefit to like adjusting your list to understand that might happen, but given that it wasn't in any of the packs that I saw, and maybe I just missed it, that wasn't a thing. That said, my list doesn't care about blind deployment because it's so fast. I can just kind of hunker down generally in the middle of the board with all my good stuff, and then speed out to either edge if I happen to get flank deployed.
Yep.
And I drew a guy named Mark Detlor, I believe he's from the Michigan area, playing Troll Horde. So I felt even more comfortable with a blind deployment because basically 90% of my army shuts down his army special rule. So I knew that he was going to have to get kind of lucky and really play a cagey game, and I could really be the beatdown in my game and play the aggressor. one thing also about the Adepticon mission pack, the pack itself said that whoever won the deployment role got to go first. Though they later clarified, not to everybody, but to some people, I guess, what they meant was whoever finished deploying first got to always go first. This, like we can talk about that at the end, but what this basically did for me, thinking that whoever won the role got to go first, was it just made all of my decisions infinitely easier when it came to how I was going to deploy, even in a blind deployment. Because I knew, like, I'm going first or he's going first. I believe in this scenario, he went first. No, sorry, I did get. I'm trying to remember now. Yeah, he did go first. So we lifted our blind deployment. I deployed basically most of my stuff in the middle. There was a weird little ruin on my left-hand side that I slipped my gigantic spawn and my Shartak behind. And I put one unit of Forsaken on that flank as well, so that if it was a weak flank, I could pretty easily kind of slide in from this side. And if it was a heavy flank, I felt pretty comfortable in holding it for at least a couple of turns. My opponent had played 2 units of 6, I think it was 6 trolls, 6 river trolls, 1 unit of 6 stone trolls, basically in his middle with a troll hag. He had a orc war boss on a wyvern that was decked out for as many saves as possible with troll hide trousers and a talisman of protection, a sword of might, which I probably wouldn't go with normally, but it worked for him. And then he had a unit of 6 to 8 savage orc boar boys with a caster inside.
Just awesome.
And a small unit of orc archers in front of them, just so that they wouldn't frenzy charge me right away. And a giant, and he had a giant. Basically, the game went about as I expected it would. I pushed up. I intentionally kind of gave him my Shartak for his Wyvern Lord with the hope that he would end up behind me and that I could just have kind of free reign with my dragon on the trolls. So when he did charge the Shartak and kill it, I was pretty okay with that, just kind of leaving the Wyvern in the back until I could deal with the stuff on his end. The only thing that almost gave me an issue was I failed an impetuous test early with my Forsaken on the flank and charged his archers, which he chose to flee with behind his boar boys. And I rolled a 17 on the charge, my max distance. So I ended up half an inch away from the boar boys, which wasn't what I wanted at all. That said, they only killed 5 of the Forsaken because of invuln saves, and I managed to just stubborn my way out of it and hold them for quite a while until my Chaos Spawn managed to rear charge the boar boys, and that kind of just ended them because now they were wounding me on 6s, and I was kind of having a field day punching them in the butt until they died. And then my dragon killed all of the stone trolls basically in 1 round of combat. My other unit of Forsaken managed to take out most of the river trolls so that once they finally died, my dragon could finish them off, as well as the troll hag. And that was kind of the game. Mark was a great opponent. He told me he runs a bunch of events in Michigan.
Cool.
And he was asking about where we run events in Ontario because he's not a big fan of Toronto. So if you run events in the Ontario region and you're not in Toronto, he said Mississauga is fine. Let those guys know because they're really interested in playing.
I love he explained his full terms and conditions of participation.
Yeah.
Clearly outlined geographical boundaries that this gentleman will operate in. I appreciate that.
So that was an 18-5 win for me. The only reason why I couldn't get a full 20 was because one of my units of Forsaken, I only had 1 unit of Forsaken that could score by the end of the game. So I only had 2 scoring units. Round 2, I ended up pairing into BJ Whidden, who I played in the finals of the doubles with his high elves. This time he had the souped up Star Dragon. He had the big brick of Swordmasters with the caster in it. A lot more Illyrian Reavers, I believe, this time around. And I'm trying to remember what else he had. I think that was really about it. This game was pretty good. My main goal was I wanted to either blow up the swordmasters with spell casting or hit them with my dragon so that they were always strike last, and I could finish them off before they could do much damage to me. And I wanted to try to avoid the Star Dragon until the end of the game because a 2-up armor save and a regen with an Ogre Blade, unless I get the right rolls on the Gaze of the Gods chart, I'm not super comfortable with that fight. It's like a 50-50 for me. I ended up with this one. Oh, and he had a unit of Dragon Princes as well, with a BSB in it, and that he deployed on his flank. I believe he went first. He kind of pushed up and jockeyed with his Illyrian Reavers and his Dragon Princes. On my turn, I shoved my dragon into position where the Star Dragon couldn't get at it, but he had kind of access to the Lothern Sea Guard and a few other units. I also pushed my Forsaken up and my Dragon Ogres up to kind of accept a charge from the Dragon Princes if he chose to give it.
Yep.
He had kind of made a mistake with how he had set up his Illyrian Reavers. And so he actually opened up a really good charge for me with one of my units of Forsaken into them. Unfortunately, he'd gotten off the spell that makes the terrain difficult terrain within a huge bubble, and I couldn't dispel it, so I couldn't get that charge off. But my Warhounds in this game managed to charge these 2 small units of archers that I forgot he had until just now, basically kill them and then overrun into the flank of the Lothern Sea Guard to hold them in place for a turn. His Dragon Princes hit one of my units of Forsaken, failed to kill. I think he only killed like one of them, and then proceeded to have like a 6-round fight between his BSB and like 3 Dragon Princes and my 6 or 7 Forsaken in that unit. Basically lasted the whole game until I finally killed that BSB with only 2 Forsaken left. On the other side of the board, my sorcerer managed to whittle down the swordmasters until there was about 10 or 12 left. And then he had a big miscast that killed, I think, 8 of them. He got the big template and all the partials were full hits and they just like got obliterated.
Well, I remember walking past this game like 3 times and your opponent being like, why do I have to play Warriors of Chaos for the 3rd time? And this one is like,
oh, no, that was my 3rd game. This guy.
Oh, apologies.
Yeah. BJ, that was Tyler Johnson, who was like also an awesome opponent. But yeah, so this one ended. My dragon finally kind of came in, ate the remaining swordmasters, finished off the Lothern that my Chaos Spawn had kind of hit on a flank and whittled down with those like couple dogs. And then at the very end of the game, I finally had enough buffs that I felt pretty comfortable into the Star Dragon, hit it, and we finished off the game with just the 2 dragons punching each other until I believe we were both down to like 4 wounds and the game ended. So I ended up with a 15-6 win here because I couldn't finish off that dragon. Still doing really well. And then I go into round 3. Round 3, I'm playing Tyler Johnson with a very similar list to BJ. So he's got the souped up Star Dragon. He's got 2 units of Dragon Princes instead of just 1, 2 units of Illyrian Reavers instead of just the 1. No Swordmasters, I don't believe. He just had a big block of Lothern Sea Guard with a caster in it. And I think he had a handful of archers as well. Anyway, so Tyler's awesome. He had only played Warriors of Chaos in round 1 and round 2, and so now he's playing Warriors of Chaos again. He had a lot to say about that. This game I got to go first. And he was great. We had a lot of good banter. He's a very good player. He used to be a 40K player. He top 8'd a couple majors back in the day. He seemed to recognize me from those good old days of being Falcon stats guy. Anyway, on I believe it was my first turn, I got Arcane Urgency off on my dragon and managed to fly over his army and land behind him, which he wasn't quite prepped for. And then what that kind of let me do was position myself really aggressively, and dodge his Star Dragon. Actually, he had gone first. Sorry, I didn't. And because of that, I was able to fly over his head. So on his top of turn 2, he ended up shifting his Lothern in such a way that he got out of range of my Infernal Puppet, and managed to drop a column of crystal right in front of my dragon. The Adepticon ruled that you cannot fly over the column, so I had to fly around it. Whatever, it wasn't a big deal.
Oh, really?
They had their own FAQ with a bunch of kind of odd rulings in it. They also ruled if you double moved with Arcane Urgency, you couldn't march on the second move, only the first one. Things like that. So anyway, what we ended up doing was we kind of had a little dance in the back for a little bit. I couldn't dispel that column right away. I did manage to get it off the following turn.
Oh, you got it off all right. I bet you did, you saucy boy.
And I was just kind of picking off Lother and trying to stay out of his Star Dragon's arcs with my casters. And then he finally got me into a position turn 3, I want to say it was, or turn 4, where he managed to put his Star Dragon in such a place where I really couldn't escape him without sacrificing a lot with my Sorcerer. He kind of had me dead to rights, my Sorcerer with Marauders. If I ran my Sorcerer out of the Marauder unit and marched away, I was safe. But if I wanted to keep him in the Marauders, I was going to have to probably accept a charge. We measured out a few options. If I marched like right up beside him, it was very close as to if he had my arc. Initially, I said I believed he could still see me. And so I had to hum and haw about that for like 15 minutes because it was a really major decision. In the end, I went for it in the hopes that I could get off Arcane Urgency and double move. And then I would be like, ace is safe. So I marched up. We rechecked visibility. It didn't look like I was in his arc, but because we'd already measured it once before, I was just like, I assumed something had been bumped, and we went with that. And then I went for the Arcane Urgency. I rolled big. I got like a 15. And then he rolled like double sixes or a 16, one or the other. But I think he got dub sixes on me and dispelled it, which sucked because now I'm going to get a flank charge with my little Marauders by his dragon. And I thought, like, now it's an uphill battle for me. I had his Lothern dead to rights, but I was going to be losing like my biggest asset outside of my dragon, and his dragon was just as good as mine. But what ended up happening was he charged my unit. I challenged with my Marauder champion. He, of course, max overkilled. And instead of going, which is what I would assume would have happened, I broke. I rolled a 10 on the leadership test.
Oh, dang.
And this actually helped me immensely. On my flea roll, I rolled, I think it was like at a 12-incher. Which was just enough to hit my Dragon Ogre Shartak, which had made his way into Tyler's backline and had killed a unit of Sisters of Avalorn by himself. He just gotten kind of lucky with a big charge. But what that let me do is by bouncing through, when he did his overrun, he needed to roll, I think, 1 more inch than me to catch me because he had my flank and due to the pivot. And he ended up stopping like right behind the Shartak. So he didn't hit the Shartak and my Sorcerer bounced to the other side. And that was all done on his turn. So on my turn, when I rallied and reformed, I was able to reform myself small enough that that I was able to move and then Arcane Urgency move again and end up on the other side of his dragon with my caster and the Marauder unit, and his dragon was like way out of position.
Nice.
My Shartak went and killed his other unit of Sisters of Avalorn, I believe, at that point. My Forsaken set up to accept charges from the Dragon Princes. And then my dragon and Spawn kind of went to town on the remainder of his army while he had to reposition his dragon to kind of fly back in. And then Tyler we did finish off the game, but Tyler kind of gave up when his main unit of Dragon Princes managed to get a charge off on my Forsaken. Failed to kill any of them, I want to say, or he killed one.
Wow.
And then they proceeded to basically wipe out the unit down to one guy. Because I rolled killing.
Wow.
Like
what a game.
And so that flipped the game completely. I was able to kind of mow down everything else. And then we had a dragon fight, which my Chaos Lord won because I could not roll less than a 5 for what I was getting for bonuses for the entire game. So I think by the end of that game, he was like strength 10 and had like 8 attacks. Chaos Lord or something stupid, and was like leadership 12. It was just silly. But yeah, so that was Tyler was like a really great opponent. We were laughing throughout the game about how both of us wanted to lose so we didn't have to play the next day because our plan was that if we went 2-1, either of us, we were just not going to show up the next day. Because kind of like Danny, I wanted to experience Adepticon. Adepticon for me was never about the event. It was about it was about seeing the stuff. But I'm now 3-0, and I feel like I have to come in. Looking at the standings, I was tied for first with 2 other players, I believe. An Orcs and Goblins player, and I think his name was John Carter, like the Disney movie or series of books. And Blue
from Mars.
John, he was from Mars. And Blue Ford playing Mortuary Cults from Square Hammer podcast. And I was really, really hoping that I would pair into the Orcs and Goblins or pair down into another High Elf list because I had no interest in playing into Tomb Kings on meeting engagement.
This Tomb Kings list was a beast as well.
It's a really good list.
I've been watching it. I'd been like literally, because I've been playing some Tomb Kings lately, I was keenly watching it. Ragdoll people, just absolutely I don't want to say no fun people, but it was just like you have one turn to do something about everything I'm going to do to you, and if you don't, I think you don't have a game. And you have to predict exactly what he's planning to do and place a couple of units in key positions because the list looks very immobile and like it's going to play keep away with a big block of archers and pretty much wait for you to come to them and slam you with necro, like the 3 necro sphinxes. But it's not. It's going to double freaking move the unit of archers, hit your flank, and then literally start blowing you away. And yeah, it caught everyone off every game, as far as I could tell.
It's a very good list. I've played against very similar ones. I've watched a lot of games of Mortuary Cults and variations of this. Usually with only 2 necrosphinxes and taking the casket.
I walked up to him and I said, dude, your list is practically fluffy. You've only got two scorpions, while looking at his block of 60 plus archers, triple necro sphinx. Like, it's practically fluffy, mate. It's only 2 scorpions there, man. What are you doing? You treat this event like a joke or something? We had a good chuckle.
Yeah, Blue is a great guy. He and I chatted at the end of day 1 a little bit, and then in day 2 when we came in and we realized it was very likely we were going to be playing into each other. They'd paired the lists multiple times, told us not to use BCP, which was really confusing because they were using BCP. I think they weren't very comfortable with it, was the problem. So they weren't trusting it to just like have the pairings correct. Yeah. Which is fine. Hopefully next year they'll be a little more comfortable and we won't be in like backwards land for a little bit. But yeah, so Blue and I talked about the matchup quite a bit in the morning while we waited to see if we were actually going to play each other. And like we both agreed, like meeting engagement is a really shitty tournament mission for a lot of reasons, especially day 2. Mainly because most of the time, and we said this when we had Andrew the TO on our podcast, actually, we said this exact thing. Most of the time, it's fine. You lose a couple of small units or you lose like 1 important unit, but you can just backline and you'll be okay. Or you're both of you and your opponent lose an important unit, so it's fine. But there are, especially in a big event like this, there's going to be games where one player loses everything and the other person loses nothing, and it's not a game. And in this matchup in particular, like Blue and I both said, like it, depending on what we didn't have deploy, completely changes the game because my list is decent into his list if I'm allowed to be a bully. If I can go first, or if I can have like a go turn where I can shove into his face, then he can't fully escape from me. We have a very interesting game. But if he's allowed to dictate the pace, if he gets to go first in particular and shut down my Infernal Puppet so that he's casting with +7 and +8 on all his spells, I'm going to struggle.
Well, I mean, it's not really a problem I guess, I mean, you don't have to worry about that if your caster doesn't start on the table.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't have to do it.
What then?
Yeah, what do you do then? Well, you don't have to. You just wasted all your time thinking what you didn't have to do. You just have to realize, I'm probably going to roll a 1 on my caster, and I don't have to worry about any of this stuff.
And it's funny because we said that on the Adepticon episode. Was Danny specifically said it was going to be me that was going to not start with a dragon or a caster on the board.
Danny, did you cast a hex?
Whoa.
Hex,
Okay.
Peter?
First of all, Peter manifested this all the night before, like 8 times. Like, I'm going to my dragon and my wizard aren't going to start on the.
Are you victim blaming right now, Danny?
Yeah.
So I think it's wild. We're at the top table of this event. Have the most battle points between the two of us. Have like what looks to be a very exciting competitive game. We're both worried about the other person. Both of us said we wished we'd paired down. And then we proceed to have a single player game because my dragon rolls a 1, my sorcerer lord rolls a 1, one of my units of Forsaken rolls a 1, and something else. So I end up.
You're literally playing. You're literally playing maybe 1,000 points.
No, I'm playing 700 points, I believe, or
against a freaking mortuary cult list with he had 2 level 4s and a level 2. So
yeah, 2 level 4s and a level 2. The only things that didn't show up for him. His level 2 didn't show up right away, so he only had 2 level 4s to start the game, and one of his units of 5 skeleton skirmishing archers. So everything else started for him. And one of his necrosphinxes. He only had 2 to start the game.
Okay.
But because we'd learned that whoever finishes deploying first gets to go first, so there is no roll-off, we knew even before we started anything that blue was going to get to go first. And I was in a real bind. Like I basically disassociated because like blue and I shook hands as soon as I rolled that second one. Because it was like the best I can hope for is a draw. If I deploy in my back corner as far away as I can and screen out with my 10 dogs against that list that has everything coming at me, I might be able to pull out a draw unless blue only rolls 1s on literally every fucking thing he does. My other option is to hope he makes a mistake or to hope his necrosphinxes whiff. And so I decided to go with the more aggressive option because it was in my mind the only way I could pull a win. And this is a battle points event. So I screened with my dogs and then I put my unit of 4 dragon ogres at like exactly 17 inches from his deployment line, or like 16 inches, with the hopes that he would charge me with 1 or both of the necrosphinxes. I was really hoping I could convince him to only do 1. Yep. And I kind of gave him an option of trying to make a long bomb charge onto a unit of Forsaken with the other, kind of trying to drag that out and split his fire. And my hope was if he did that, because I've done this matchup enough, 4 dragon ogres, unless he rolls a bunch of 6s, kill a necrosphinx.
Yep.
And then if I can kill one of those necrosphinxes, tie up the other one, or he fails a charge, now I'm in an okay spot because his archers don't have a lot of good targets that turn 1. Turn 2, yes, he's going to kill a bunch of stuff, but then I'm going to have my dragon and my sorcerer and I can play. But it's like a way off beat chance. And I'm really not into the game because I know what's actually going to happen. And so he gets to go first. He casts all of his spells with plus like 7 to cast.
Infinity, yeah.
He's double Plague of Rusting everything on my list. He's casting double Wind Blast. He's teleporting the archers where he wants. The lucky thing is because of where I put my dogs, he couldn't exactly get into good positions with the archers. He makes both. He does the right thing and he charges both necrosphinxes into the 1 unit of dragon ogres. Gets barely enough with both, so he can't fully line up to me. So I only get like 1 dragon ogre's full attacks into him, which is like perfect for him, and it sucked for me real bad. So it was like the worst possible scenario. Kills the dragon ogres, overruns into a position where I can at least countercharge him with my my Chaos Spawn and my Shartak and try to make a game of things, but I know it's not going to work out. And yeah, and then it's basically just blue rolling dice and me rolling saves for the rest of the game. I killed one of the Necrosphinxes and two Tomb Scorpions with my Sorcerer, just casting spells once he finally came onto the board. But by that point, like I had not much left. My Dragon killed like something, and I just didn't care anymore because like the game was clearly over. There was nothing more I could do. So I kind of let him overrun, and my hope was, if I get like between a 12 and a 15, I'm in a really good spot to at least kill one more Necrosphinx before this game ends, and maybe tie up his archers after that. And I rolled an 18 and ended up stopping like perfectly in front of his archers. So they did like 7 wounds to him between Plague of Rust and everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just kind of the game it was. And Blue and I talked about it quite a bit. He apologized profusely, offered me beers and all sorts of stuff. And like, I just like, that's just the nature of the game when you have meeting engagement in your tournament, is that this can happen. It sucks that it happened at the top table. It sucks if it happened anywhere to anybody, really. Like, I don't mind meeting engagement as a fun, fluffy game to play with buddies. Or I even said, like, if it was old meeting engagement, the 8th edition version or previous, where you came on the board at the end of turn 1, that's not as bad. You can make that, right? If I only had to deal with one turn of nonsense, like I can pull myself out of that. Having to deal being bottom of turn 2, like it's not. It's basically he has 3 full turns to do whatever he wants to me
before you start getting any points back in your direction. Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's more than that. It's the wrong freaking list to have that happen against. Like, if it was, because it's just so buff centric and synergy centric, he's got 2 turns pretty much of unimpeded, no pressure set up in the middle of the board to just get every buff off, make sure everything's in range when he wants it to. Yeah. And it sounds like he's a phenomenal player. And he is.
He's a wonderful player. He has the Square Hammer podcast. If you don't already listen to it, it's been on for a while. You really should. He's really, really intelligent guy. I believe he runs the Nova Open tournament as well.
Really?
Yeah, he's just awesome. I really, really enjoyed like talking to him pre and post game.
Oh, did he? No, did he? He won Nova, didn't he?
No, he ran Nova.
Oh, you sure? Because I remember shaking hands with a guy called Blue. Anyway, never mind.
So during that game, the TO came over at one point, and I think he was just trying to be jokey, because that's kind of the kind of guy he was. He made some comment along the lines of like, "Oh, I guess somebody underestimated the power of Tomb Kings," and I was just like, "We need to have a talk, bud." That was really the wrong time, and I told him like, this isn't a really good mission to have. I told him exactly how I felt. He said okay, and I provided some more feedback after. And so did Blue. We both said like it just didn't feel good for either of us. We were having a really fun event, and then we had this really kind of like good for Blue because he ends up winning the tournament.
Well, but also like he knows he won that. He may now feel like he won that tournament with an asterisk.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's
exactly
what you really want, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, I dropped out. I knew, looking at my points and everybody else's points, that if I won my game 5, I probably top 3 the event still, because I had so many points rounds 1 through 3, and it was a battle point event. At worst, I probably top 5 unless I like lose again. And if I lose, whatever, at that point, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you wanted to enjoy the con.
But I wanted to enjoy the con, and more importantly, and this was what was really going through my head in that moment, because I'd had kind of such a bummer that round. I wanted to make sure my next opponent had a good round.
You felt like you were going to give them a bad time. Yeah,
like I don't want to go that far. I just felt like I wasn't going to be fully into the game. And like, I want my opponents to have a good time. I want to chat through things. And if I'm like thinking about the last game the whole time and kind of just bummed out about it, or somehow my body reacts the other way and I get too serious, like neither of those things are things I want, right? I want to have like a good game, like the strategic, but that's chatty, like I had with Tyler and BJ and everybody else prior, right? And so that was a big reason for me dropping out. I did feel like bummed about it a few hours later after kind of walking the con, and then I really should have done that last round anyway. But I did what I did, and yeah.
Well, fair enough. Good run to you both anyway. What did you feel about the con? Like, what were your impressions of Adepticon?
Adepticon itself was awesome.
Yeah.
It like the showcase was cool. The people were great. The vendor hall was insane. Watching all the people dressed up for the doubles events was also super cool too. As to the tournaments, the doubles event was super fun. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed their scenarios quite a bit. I wish they'd had a little more prize support, but like the medals that Val and I got for first place were sick, so I can't complain there. Val
that was it.
the rest of the weekend.
Oh man.
So Blue ended up winning. How did Val do?
Val ended up like 15th. I want to say he did go 4-1, but it is a battle points event, and I think he had 2 really low scoring games.
That's the thing with
3
VC.
and 2.
That's
actually.
Oh, was he 3 and 2? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing
He
with
lost
VC though,
by
right? You can just have very small wins with VC.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, like the guy that came in second place also went 3 and 2. So like that's just kind of.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
It also shows the competition. So what, Blue went undefeated?
Blue went undefeated. I believe I think there were 2 people that went undefeated. There was an Empire of Man list that ended up in like 6th or 7th place that was undefeated. And then Blue was undefeated. If I had scored, I believe a 15 or higher, I would have been in second place. If I played my round 5, because I'd had so many points my first 3 rounds.
So we already heard what you thought you would change or you would do differently if you could go again, Danny. Most likely you'd play Dark Elves and or get some more rips with Wood Elves. Peter, what would you do different, if anything? Anything you change about your list? Or
If I'd known in advance that whoever finished deploying got to go first, I would have run a lower drop list. I wouldn't have brought my dogs almost at all. I might have brought like a unit of 5, and I would have consolidated a few things like drop the Dragon Ogre Shartak, probably actually drop the Chaos Spawn as well and just take like a brick of Chosen Knights and try to get down to like 6 or 7 drops so that I have a better chance of going first more often.
Yeah, I don't love that rule because it does incentivize Death Stars, doesn't it? It incentivizes eggs in a basket.
I don't like 40K did it once and it was a terrible decision. Knowing you're going first just is too good for good players or for players of a certain skill level. You need that that's the kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? Uncertainty that makes a game fun is not known. Yeah. Because otherwise, like just YOLO on the line, buddy. There you go.
Or chuck in the C's. If all else fails, chuck in like a 6+. You flip it in as well. If you're committed to doing that, put in a failure mechanic. So
exactly.
But anyway, all right. Thoughts on the meta of the singles, Danny? What did you think of the list you played against, the list you saw there? What do you think like of the old world moving and shaking at Adepticon?
All right. So I have opinions on that. First of all, the lists that were doing good were the lists that I would not be surprised to see were doing well. Like it's kind of the typical meta stuff. My comment to that is that I don't like the competitive old world meta that much. In that it's just the way the game is built, right? Like magic is really good, monsters are really good, or if you can't bring like the only infantry units that are really good are like either really massive or they don't cost anything, right? Like and they have high damage output. I just wish that there was still some room for static combat resolution, but that's like a game issue and not necessarily like the Adepticon meta per se, right?
What do you mean by like what do you think is missing in static combat res wise?
I just don't think those units are good at all.
Oh, okay.
Like name one unit that is good at static combat res, like that just doesn't exist. Like
that's fair. So I thought you meant in general because all the big units you're describing are all trying to hit a threshold of static combat res in order themselves. It's almost like to be a unit of good infantry, you have to have like everything at top tier. You have to have the damage output. You have to have the numerosity. You have to have multiple characters, overlapping buffs, double move mechanics, poison and or elementalism assistance, and like 7+ static combat res. And that's just the one freaking unit to make it good enough to take.
Right. And so I wish that weren't the case, but it is, and that's fine. Like, that is what it is. Like, I can't do anything about that. I'm hopeful. I can't wait to see the 2 new arcane journals that were announced at Adepticon. I'm really excited to see both Beastmen and Wood Elves and see if those have a propensity to shake up the meta. I don't think that will be the case, but I'm excited to see what the future brings there.
Well, it's been weird. I mean, we'll discuss arcane journals on the other side because I got some hot takes I want to run past you. Peter, what do you think of the singles meta?
It was mostly what I thought it would be, especially with Bretonia seeing such a huge nerf, like no Green Knight and only one flying character allowed. There was only 1 or 2 Bretonia lists that were performing well at all. But yeah, it was everything. Like, the lists that I ended up playing against were exactly what I expected to see.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't any shocks.
Yeah,
shocks.
Yeah, lots of vampires I noticed off the cuff, just walking around like VC. Holy shit! There's like it felt like a quarter of the field was VC. I know it wasn't, but it really felt like that, which I thought was very interesting for maybe it's a geographical nuance more than anything else. People just love their vampires in that area.
I mean, it's a beautiful army. They've got some really great models. It's also an army that's like, it's extremely good, but it requires a lot of practice and there's a lot of moving parts to get the screams off the way you want. And people don't really want to run double Mortis engine because it's kind of boring. It's a lot. But yeah, I'd hope to see Val do a little bit better in the singles, but he really enjoyed himself.
Well, he forgot literally one. Apparently, there was just like one game where he forgot to do a challenge that would have like almost won the game.
In his game one,
and those things just happen.
In his game one, he said if he challenged with his Graveguard unit, he might have won that game. And it's stuff like that. Sometimes it just costs you, especially with vampire counts when you're a crumble army, right? So
yeah, exactly right. Well, anyway, on that note, boys, we're going to wrap up this part 1. We're going to go over in part 2, give our hot takes on the new Cathay announcement and some other bits and pieces, answer some Patreon questions. Hope you'll come and join us at That'll Blow Charm over on Patreon. And we're going to talk about what we've got coming up. Me and Danny might talk about the new armies we're thinking about moving and shaking along with, because I've got some. I walked around the tables, and I do this at events a lot, especially when I don't know what to play at the moment. I've been playing a bunch of stuff just to help Peter practice. Like, I'm playing a lot of Tomb Kings and all sorts of stuff. But man, I walked past one table and I was like, I want to play that. So we'll talk about that a bit more on the other side.
Nice.
Gents, anything you want to mention before we check out?
I'd say, like, if you haven't gone to Adepticon and you want to experience it, it's definitely a really cool experience to like see everything in the hobby all at once, and to a very high standard. I think the gaming events there are a little weird sometimes in the rules, but I just think it's because they want to be Adepticon and they were kind of like the first major convention here in the United States.
Yeah.
And they want to preserve, I think, that aspect, and their focus is more on hobby than competitive. And that's fine. Like, that's whatever. That is what it is. But I would say that the event is really cool. And if you haven't been to it, you should definitely check it out. The venue is great. Milwaukee is actually way cooler than I thought it was going to be.
It is.
It is. And there's so many like restaurants and stuff right around the venue that are good. And hotels. As someone who's used to going to LVO and like SoCal and stuff and having to do crazy hotels or walk insane distances, it's nice to have like really nice hotels right beside the convention center.
God, and the food was good too, right? Like, I felt like,
even the vendor food was great. Like, there, except for the $20 beers, everything else was amazing.
So I got there on a Monday, flying in from Australia, and a couple of the other boys on the Judo production team were there. So we all met up and went out for dinner. We went to Brat House, and of course we got the giant, child-sized pretzel. And halfway through eating it, I was like, I'm not going to ship properly until I get home. And I'm after I did like 3 serves of it, and I'm like, man, I just essentially ate a dough brick, and then I had two snags essentially, or glizzies, whatever they're called. Yeah, whatever. Brats in bread. And I'm like, oh boy, there is no fiber in this town or my body. This is going to be fun.
As soon as we landed, I forced the boys to take me to Giordano's for an authentic Chicago deep dish pizza. And I'm still pooping out that pizza.
Yeah. No, that'll clog a colon. Oh, yeah. Anyway, on that delightful topic, we're out of here. Hopefully you'll come and join us over on part 2, guys. If not, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to That Old World Charm with those charming chaps, Adam, Danny, and Peter the Falcon. Thanks ever so much. Cheerio.